Supplementaries. Question number 6, Anne Tolley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Education and asks, does he stand by his statement that, quote, Schools Plus articulates the goal of every young person being in education, skills development or structured learning relevant to their needs and abilities until the age of 18, end quote? If so, how many young people are currently not engaged in education, skills development or structured learning?
The Honourable Chris Carter.
Madam Speaker, yes. While New Zealand students are performing among the best in the world, the 2006 census revealed that 9,300 15 to 17-year-olds were not currently engaged in education, training or employment, and we estimate another 20,000 are in very low-skilled jobs. It's exactly, Madam Speaker, these sorts of students that Schools Plus aims to keep in education or training.
Supplementary question, Anne Tolley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Minister, can he confirm that in 2002 his government promised that by the end of 2007 every 15 to 19-year-old would be in work, education or training? So the fact that we're talking almost perhaps 30,000 young people not in work, education or training, as the Minister's just outlined, means that Labor has failed to achieve its goal announced in 2002.
The Honourable Chris Carter.
Madam Speaker, the member never listens to the answer. She asked me about
Order!
Madam Speaker, the member asked me about students that were in training or education. She's now included employment. Actually, in 2002, 6,000 young New Zealanders were unemployed. Today, there are only 250, a 96% reduction, as we promised the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. We're talking about students and young people who are in very low-skilled jobs. We want to lift up their skills. We're proud of our employment record. We want to make sure that every young New Zealander lifts their skills up.
A supplementary question, the Honourable Mark Burton.
Madam Speaker, will the Minister tell the House what recent announcements the government has made to support the implementation of Schools Plus?
The Honourable Chris Carter.
Madam Speaker, last week at Massey High School, the Prime Minister and I announced $39.7 million for the initial rollout in 2009 of Schools Plus. This will include, Madam Speaker, improved careers guidance for schools, about $11.5 million, an expanded STAR course, an already successful program, another $21 million, 100 new schools next year joining the Youth Apprenticeship Scheme, more funding for pre-employment training, a tertiary secondary opportunity at the Manukau Institute of Technology. I contrast that, Madam Speaker, with National's plan, boot camps for bad kids.
Supplementary question, Anne Tolley.
To the Minister. So when the government sets itself a goal in 2002, and the Minister today has admitted that they failed to achieve that goal with at least 10,000 17-year-olds, why is the Labor Party now reheating that same goal of having all young people in education and training, and now asking the New Zealand public to wait until 2014 to get what it promised it would have done by 2007?
The Honourable Chris Carter.
Madam Speaker, the member criticises our government for reducing the number of young unemployed people from 6,000 to 250, a 96% reduction. Somehow she says that's not good enough. Well, I say to her, boot camps, Mrs Tolley, won't work.
Supplementary question. Anne Tolley.
To the Minister. What would the Minister, if he was a school teacher, say to a student who asked for 5 years to achieve a task and failed miserably to do so, who then came back 6 years later asking for a 6-year extension? And does he think that the New Zealand public are foolish enough to listen to a government that broke its 2002 promise and is now shamelessly reheating that same promise and asking them to wait for another 6 years to get any results?
The Honourable Chris
Madam
Carter.
Speaker, for many years I was a school teacher, and I would tell that student that I'm very proud now to be the Education Minister in a government that's put $5.5 billion extra into education, that's come up with a revolutionary scheme like Schools Plus, has brought in 20 free hours for early childhood, that's built 1,500 classrooms, 42 new schools, and increased teachers' salaries by 38%. That student would be very impressed with that real achievement.
Supplementary question, Judy Turner.
To the Minister, does he agree that the Schools Plus policy will deliver very little to students if the New Zealand Qualifications Authority continues to refuse to receive achievement marks for students whose parents have failed to pay the NZQA fee? And will he move to correct this so that students' results are not lost due to the inability or unwillingness of parents to pay?
One of the most important things about Schools Plus is it's a collaborative approach involving schools, the community, trade unions, business, NZQA, the Teachers' Council, the teachers' unions and so on, so that we can get all of the ducks lined up to make sure it works properly. That's why it's been resourced by $40 million next year. That's why it's a long period of consultation, because we want it to work. Yes, we will have to work closely with NZQA and every other stakeholder in education.
Supplementary question, Judy Turner.
Does the Minister agree that it would be preferable for the NZQA to at least collect and hold all student achievement data, even if they won't then provide written evidence to school leavers if fees aren't paid, to avoid the risk that currently exists of students losing their marks altogether? And if he does agree, will he move to fix this so that Schools Plus qualification gains are not lost?
The Honourable Chris Carter.
Madam Speaker, I, like every other minister in the Labor government, is determined to make Schools Plus so that we work, so that we can get the outcome we want, which is better skills, better training for all young New Zealanders. So yes, I will be working closely with NZQA to make sure that we have the most robust and best possible systems in place to make Schools Plus work for our kids.
Supplementary question, Anne Tolley.
To the Minister, why is the Ministry of Education paying for 120 principals to fly to Wellington at short notice for a briefing on Schools Plus? And why is his government using tens of thousands of taxpayer money 7 weeks out from an election to fly in principals for a briefing to publicise Labor Party election policy? And isn't this a breach of the Electoral Finance Act?
The Honourable Chris Carter.
I'm really delighted to hear, as no doubt every principal in New Zealand will be, that the Ministry of Education is assisting those schools, because usually, Madam Speaker, I hear the opposite complaints, that we don't give them enough support. I'm glad they're coming to Wellington because we want Schools Plus to work.
Supplementary question, Anne Tolley.
To the Minister, can we sum up the situation in this way then? In 2002, the Labor government promised to have all of our young people in education, training and work by the end of 2007, and they failed. Now, a year later, they're reheating that same goal, giving themselves another 6-year extension, and to top it all off, they're using tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars flying principals in to brief them on Labor Party election campaign policy.
The Honourable Chris Carter.
Madam Speaker, I can sum up for the member in just a few words. In 2006, 6,000 unemployed youngsters. Today, 250. Yes, Mrs Tolley, our programs are working.
Supplementary question. Point of order, Anne Tolley.
I seek leave to table the letter from the Ministry of Education to principals inviting them at the Ministry's expense to fly
sought to table that document. Is there any objection? Yes.